I have spent my life bringing together the Black and Jewish communities, emphasizing that we share not only a history of shared persecution, but of spiritual promise. Today we debate an American tragedy, a woman of unique eloquence who has abused that eloquence to become simultaneously the foremost anti-Black rhetorician in all of the United States and the foremost anti-Semite in America. The statements that Candace has made against her own community, that they cry wolf and constantly say that they're victims of racism. Her attacks on George Floyd, a man who was suffocated to death for a $20 counterfeit note saying that he was a horrible human being. A woman who went up in front of CPAC and said, "I was never a slave in America," as if that's the only form of discrimination, is what has led her community to call her not Candace, but Candace. The first ever female Black woman who appears in her rhetoric against Blacks, calling LeBron James dumb and stupid, an icon to the Black community, as Candace. Simultaneously, you have the Jewish community beginning to call her not Candace Owens, but Candace Owens, because her Goebbels-style rhetoric against Jews, that Jews are nearly all pedophiles. The State of Israel will set up a Theodor Herzl, a pedophile, as a haven for pedophiles. That Judaism is a demonic, satanic cult that only protects pedophiles. And by the way, her absolute obsession with Jewish sexuality and Jewish genitalia, the first lady of France, Brigitte Macron's genitalia, is disturbing. It's one of the reasons I think she hates Sigmund Freud so much, because she's a Freudian field dream in terms of his arguments that the greater the sexual suppression and repression, the greater we see violence. But when you say that the Jews killed JFK because he was about to ostracize Israel, when you invent all of these fabrications out of whole cloth, what is the result? The result is the demonization of Jews that leads to violence. Pierce, just 1 week ago, 2 days after Candace falsely accused me, as she has for 2 years, of being a murderer, of threatening to kill her, something for which she will face legal action, because you cannot malign a rabbi and his daughter as murderers. 2 days later, I was swatted in my house, where 5 police cars had to break into my house because Mayor Michael Wilds of Englewood, New Jersey, received an email, arguably from one of Candace's followers, after she said essentially what Henry II says: "Who will rid me of this troublesome priest?" which leads directly to the murder of Thomas Becket, who today is a Catholic saint, of course. We were swatted, and the FBI is now investigating Candace's rhetoric. They're investigating
Rabbi
everything
Shmvley, I'm interrupting
she said.
because you've now...
The biggest issue I have with Candace, to be honest, is that she claims to be a Christian. Candace, didn't Jesus say you're supposed to love your enemies? Is the love you show me that you call me filth twice on the last show that you did with Pierce a piece of filth? You're supposed to love your enemies. Is that turning the other cheek? And Pierce, you're an English gentleman. I've known you for many years. You allowed her to say that without even a piece of filth. When Jesus said that you're supposed to turn the other cheek, where have you ever turned the other cheek? When Jesus said that the meek shall inherit the earth, the arrogance, the nonstop attack against Jews, the demonization. If you are a Christian, then I am the second coming of Christ.
Okay. That's 4 minutes you've spoken to. Out of fairness, Candace, if you want to use 4 minutes to respond, you can. All I would note, Rabbi Shmvley, is you've spent 4 minutes personally attacking Candace Owens. I set this up as a debate about what is happening with the Israel-Hamas war, anti-Semitism, and so on and so on. You've turned it all completely, immediately, into an ad hominem onslaught against Candace.
How could you possibly say that? You are speaking to a woman who says the Jews are a ring of demonic pedophiles, and you're saying that I have no right to defend my people. You know, Pierce, you have to stop this once and for all. There was nothing ad hominem at all.
All right.
When Candace says that the Black community is a bunch of crybabies, everything I said was policy. I could not disagree more. With all due respect, when one of your guests calls someone else filth, I think that you, as an English gentleman, should step in. But let me answer your question. No less, the only thing of Christ that Candace Owens has actually fulfilled comes from Matthew chapter 10, verse 35, where Jesus says, "I've come to separate and create conflict between a woman and her mother-in-law and father-in-law." My answer to your question about Gaza is that Lord Michael Farmer, a courageous British peer who happens to be Candace Owens' father-in-law, issued one of the most robust and beautiful defenses of Israel that any of us have read since October 7th. He said that, of course, there's a lot of terrible Palestinian casualties. God loves every Palestinian child as much as he loves a Jewish child. He said that Israel has no choice but to fight this war because Hamas hides in residential areas and under nurseries. He said that Israel, the savagery of October 7th, demands a response. He said that Israel is doing exactly the right thing. And he said that he's doing all this in response to a, quote, high-profile member of his family. The contempt to not even mention his daughter-in-law, Candace Owens, because he didn't want to say her name. And he didn't even say, I love my daughter-in-law, but because the British remember Hitler, they remember the Battle of Britain, they remember the V-1 and V-2 rockets. Candace Owens has actually now said that the Nazis were the good guys and it was the allies, the British, people like yourself, Pierce, who engaged in the ethnic cleansing of 12 million people based on some documentary she watched called The Savage Peace on the BBC, which wasn't even about the Allies. She always distorts. It was about the Czechoslovakia, a country that no longer even exists. And as far as what she said about Michael Jackson, putting me on enemies list, that is a total fabrication. It was invented by someone named Dieter Wietzner, who sued Michael Jackson for $64 million, tried to shake him down, and Michael had to pay him $4 million. I worked to save Michael's life. Candace Owens never met Michael Jackson. I was his rabbi for 2 years. I love him. I missed him. I tried to get him off of drugs. She said that I killed him. And talk about the contempt for people struggling with addiction, that she would say the Jews killed Michael Jackson. And with all due respect, Pierce, you have not said that one of those things, that I'm a murderer, a man who doesn't have a speeding ticket, who doesn't have a parking ticket, is a murderer, and the police have to come and the FBI to protect me. Are you going to say? Here's what I'm going to. I think that's a very fair question. You know, and I don't like whataboutism. But Candace Owens never spoke out once against Bashar al-Assad, who killed 600,000 Arabs, and he actually gassed to death children. He targeted them with mustard and poison gas. You remember that President Obama said that's a red line, and then he gave it to Putin to get rid of those weapons of mass destruction.
Which was completely
God bless
wrong.
President Trump, who actually wait, just a second. President Trump, God bless him, actually fired 59 cruise missiles when Assad did that. It's funny because people say that President Trump is anti-Muslim. He's the only one who protected Muslim life. Pierce, Hamas has ruled since 2006. They won an election jointly with the PA. They took the Palestinian Authority representatives and threw them off of rooftops. They then subjected the Palestinians, 1.5 million Palestinians of Gaza, to the most ruthless persecution that we've ever seen. They stole all their money. Ismail Haniyeh, who was assassinated in Tehran, is worth $4 billion. Now he's fighting with Erdogan, his kids, over who's going to inherit that. Khalid Mashal is worth $3 billion. You and I both know that the Palestinians of Gaza got triple the amount per capita, prorated for our times, of the Marshall Plan. All of that money was stolen to build tunnels. There isn't one bomb shelter. The reason why people are dying in Gaza is because that money was used to buy penthouses in Doha, Qatar. There isn't one bomb shelter that from Hamas. Hamas shoots and murders anyone who challenges their authority. They were elected in 2006 to a 4-year term. It's now 20 years later. Hamas specifically, and that's why they're being condemned by the Palestinians right now. They want Palestinian children to die because the more they die, the more you will condemn me and Israel. But let's remember, Pierce, your parents are part of the greatest generation. Winston Churchill was told by the Americans, don't bomb German cities, Hamburg, Dresden, etc., at night. You can't see what you're bombing. Do what we Americans have, which is precision daytime bombing. And Churchill said, no, my pilots are more important. We need the RAF.
All right.
And he flattened German cities. And he is considered today the greatest British statesman of the 20th century, because he felt he had. You never said that I threatened to murder you. We're going to post.
No, I never said that you threatened to murder me. Don't cut me off. I did not cut you off.
Okay, I will not cut you off. Go ahead, please.
I didn't.
No, they never said he should stop the war. They said there should be a ceasefire to release the hostages because Israel is a cult. Don't interrupt me, please, Candace. Because Israel is a culture of life. And that's why Israel got into this mess for October 7th. They traded 1,000 murderers, including Yahya Sinwar, who Israel saved at Soroka Hospital in Beersheba when he had a brain tumor. The Hamas Hitler, who's the architect of October 7th, Israel saved his life. It's a culture of life, even for Palestinian murderers. They traded 1,000 for Gilad Shalit. You remember that. And now a whole group is saying, even if it leads to another October 7th, I need my children home. I understand that. Pierce, I have 2 sons fighting in this war. I understand the dangers that are being faced. No one's saying to stop the war, not to destroy Hamas. They're saying, call a ceasefire to release the hostages because of their execution. But I must respond. First of all, Candace just said that Israel dropped more bombs on Gaza than on Dresden. What's your source for that? Do you know that in Dresden, there were 1,000 Lancaster bombers sent over 2 nights by Churchill, and then 800 American, that's 1,800 bombs. What's your source that Israel dropped more than on Dresden? To the question you just made. No, Pierce. This is deflection.
I said more tons
you
of
said that Israel. You just made a blood libel against the Jewish state. Dresden was 1,000 Lancaster bombers over 2 nights. I am asking you, what is your source?
This is getting very boring.
The answer. Okay, don't interrupt me, please. The answer is Pierce. It's my turn. Correct. Pierce.
Rabbi Shmvley, you can't ask someone a question.
You mean she said it and now she's fact-checking it? You're kidding me, right?
Well, you're asking me to give you the direct source live, and I'm going to look it up for you. So give me 1 second.
I don't have a computer on me. I don't have a computer on me. This is ridiculous.
Let her finish.
This is a cheat sheet. This is absurd. But let's be clear.
Dresden, Hamburg,
so over 11
and London
months, she's comparing an 11-month war to a single night in Dresden. That's clearly absurd. I'm glad that she has her cheat sheet, her computer in front of her. But notice, she made this
you
statement,
called it a blood libel,
not knowing what she was talking about.
She
Just
said,
a moment, please.
Hang on.
I find this an astonishing debate.
You asked. You asked for the proof.
Wait. First of all, I don't. Wait. What do you mean it's true? Because she said it's true?
No, do you accept that's true?
Fact-checkers?
The New York Times says it's true.
Is this a serious show? Wait. Every time I try to speak,
you asked for a source. You called it a blood libel. You asked for a source. Fortunately, we had time to look it up.
Excuse me, you are interrupting me. She made a definitive statement. She admitted she had no source. She had to then use her computer. It's absurd that she has a computer during this debate.
But she was
right
because she had to look it up. 1 second.
But she was right.
Now she's saying that over an 11-month war. No, we don't know that she's right because your fact checkers haven't checked it, and my fact checkers haven't checked it. But let's just go back for a moment. Israel was attacked in the most savage way, and women were gang raped, their breasts were cut off. Candace recently had a guest on who even denies that women were raped. Now she's saying it's in the New York Times. She said the other day that the New York Times lied and fabricated about the mass rape of women. She had the former press secretary of Bernie Sanders who denies that. Now she suddenly likes the New York Times. You are speaking to the #1 critic of the New York Times in America. And by the way, this is a typical thing. Candace will say there's no racism in America. Then she will sue, which she did, the Stanford, Connecticut Board of Education for a $40,000 settlement against racism. She then went on a show and fabricated